Good evening, sharps and squares, degenerates and casual bettors. I'm the Wizard of Odds, Christopher Smith, and this is the SEC Country Gambling Show presented by MyBookie. We're live every Thursday night from Atlanta, Georgia, and on this show we have one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to win you some cold, hard cash. All right, I'm here with the sheriff, my buddy, the sheriff, Steve Petrella. Don't take any of my money. How are you doing today, Sheriff?
I'm fantastic. How about yourself?
It's great. Don't arrest me. We're going to now
can't make any promises.
Get right into my power rankings in the SEC entering Week 12. And as you can see, Auburn has leapfrogged to Georgia after a rousing victory on the Plains last week. Mississippi State and South Carolina are the best teams in the SEC against the spread this year. And as we turn the page to the back half of the SEC, still some terrible teams against the spread. Missouri has won 6 consecutive games against the spread. No other team in the bottom half of my rankings has even a 500 record against the number. Florida and Arkansas are terrible against the number. Vanderbilt's not much better. Tennessee's not much better. So there's some opportunity to fade some of these teams heading on the stretch. Let's go ahead and look at those Week 12 lines in the SEC, and you can decide for yourself if you like any of these. Auburn is a huge favorite over La Monroe. It's a sandwich game for Auburn between Georgia and Alabama. And then you have Alabama and South Carolina both have FCS opponents. UAB is essentially close to an FCS opponent in that they gave themselves the death penalty, and this is their first season back in terms of having a football program. And yet Florida is only a 10.5-point favorite at home in the Swamp against UAB. That's kind of pretty crazy to me. I think Florida was a 42-point favorite in that game over the summer. And then you got a Tennessee team that's fading, a Kentucky team that's fading, both big underdogs. And then you have 2 offenses that are doing really well in both Ole Miss and Missouri. And we'll take a look at those games a little closer. But those offenses are driving the fact that those teams are favored this week.
Yeah, and there's one offense that couldn't do much last week, which was Georgia. Now they're a 3-touchdown favorite against a Kentucky team that was hanging with them in the SEC East race, at least on paper. Georgia since clinched, of course. But is there a play you like in this game?
Oh man, Georgia. I picked Auburn all year. I liked Auburn as a better team than Georgia most of the year. But then at some point they were unbeaten and Auburn had 2 losses, so I had to move them down to 3 in my power rankings. But I also think Kentucky is maybe one of the worst 7-3 teams in the SEC that I've ever seen in my lifetime. And Georgia is better than what the score indicated Saturday against Auburn. That everybody had them number 1 or close to number 1 before that game. Now all of a sudden, like they're not any good anymore, or what? I think Georgia can hammer Kentucky. I think Kentucky is a bad football team. Georgia's run defense is really good, and that's really the only thing Kentucky has going for them is that Benny Snell Jr. has finally found his game again, and he's rushed for, I think now, more than 2,200 yards in his first 2 seasons in the SEC. But this is a game Georgia's going to get back on track. They're minus 21.5. It's a big number. So I don't know that I'm going to bet on this game myself. But if I have to lean somewhere, I'm definitely leaning Georgia. I don't care about the number. They're a much better football team than Kentucky.
All right, bounce back from the Bulldogs. Game, sort of a sneaky game. You might not expect Ole Miss to be favored in this game, at least at the beginning of the season. But Ole Miss hosting Texas A&M as just under a field goal favorite. Do you have a lean in this one?
Yes, I do. And you take a look at Ole Miss, and when Shea Patterson went down with a season-ending injury, interim coach, NCAA probation still looming, most people just thought, well, fade Ole Miss here, write him off for the rest of the season. The backup quarterback who has started the last 3 games, his name is Jordan Ta'amu. And you may want to go ahead and start remembering that name because this kid, he came from Hawaii. He was a junior college quarterback at New Mexico last year. Ole Miss could not get a 4 or 5-star quarterback with all this stuff going on last offseason. So they just needed a backup. So they just went out and found this random JUCO kid that looked like he had decent numbers. And what do you know? He's actually been better than Shea Patterson. He can run the football. I don't know how many yards he has running the ball, but he has a lot. And in his last 3 starts, he's thrown the ball for 368, 382, and 418. He's got a healthy A.J. Brown, who's in the running for the Blitnikoff Award as the nation's best receiver. And Texas A&M and Kevin Sumlin is ready to pack his bags and head out of College Station. So I don't know that, A&M will definitely be able to run the ball on Ole Miss. Ole Miss's run defense is bad. I do like the over a little bit in this game. The total is 68, and I made it 75, so I think there's some value in the over there. But I also like Ole Miss. I think -2.5 is going to be easy enough for them to cover. I think their offense could score in the 40s or maybe even in the 50s. So Ole Miss -2.5, that's the play in this game.
All right. Last game of the week. Finally, the Butch Jones era has come to an end. He's been a dead man walking for a month plus, maybe even dating back to last year. Interim coach Brady Hoke, former Michigan coach, taking over for the remainder of the season. They're catching 15.5 in this game against LSU.
Yeah, this is the perfect spot for LSU because they want to be able to line up, hit you in the mouth, not have to throw the ball down the field to win, get an early lead, lean on you, blitz you, stack all their players in the box at the line of scrimmage. And Tennessee's offense in the last month has suddenly become the worst offense in the SEC. As crazy as that sounds, it's been worse than Florida's offense, which is very, very hard to do. And I don't think that's going to change this week against a very athletic and talented LSU defense. If you Arden Key is probably the best pass rusher in the SEC. He wasn't healthy earlier this season. LSU's offensive line has gotten healthier. LSU's Darius Geis, running back, has gotten much healthier. So this LSU team is playing their best football now in November, and Tennessee is just looking forward to finding out who their next coach is going to be. Sorry, Vols fans, John Gruden's not coming to Knoxville, but hopefully you get somebody good that can compete with Florida and Georgia. But I think Tennessee's just ready to move on. LSU wants to make sure they can go 9-3. It wouldn't be the greatest season in LSU history, but I think after the way they started and the loss to Troy, Ed Orgeron would certainly take that. And I think he's going to lay it on Tennessee here, buy some good equity heading into the bowl season. 15.5 to me is not enough. I think this number should be closer to 20 in favor of LSU, so I'm all over the Tigers here. I love LSU in this game.
All right, and Christopher, where is the best place for our fans, viewers, and followers to get money down on those games?
Well, that's obviously mybookie.ag. As if you've been a loyal watcher of this show, you should know by now. We've got college basketball coming up. We've got the Super Bowl coming up. And if you need a bankroll to make sure you have enough money to play around with in those games, go to MyBookie today, deposit using the code SECWizard, and you get a bonus of up to 100% with your deposit. And, another couple weeks left to shoot your shot and build a bankroll heading into Super Bowl, NFL playoffs, basketball.
Yeah, it's a great time of year for sports betting, so don't miss out.
That's true. And there are a couple other picks that I like this week as well, which we'll show you now. But I'm going to go ahead and attach Lock of the Year status here to my Missouri pick.
Wow.
I love Missouri. I think that pick, I think the line is moved to about 9 now. They are playing Vanderbilt this week. A quick stat for you on that game. Missouri is 6-0 against the spread. In their last 6 games, they're plus 113.5 against the number. Vanderbilt 1-5-1 with a lousy push against South Carolina, minus 97.5 against the spread in their last 7. I don't think, for whatever reason, the bookmakers have accounted for that yet. So I love Missouri in this game. I also think UAB has a good chance to keep it very close against Florida on the road in the Swamp. And then a couple other SEC picks. Like I mentioned before, Texas A&M, Ole Miss over 68. I really like that. And I think Mississippi State has a chance to usher Brett Bielema into the unemployment line with a huge win against a very struggling Arkansas Razorbacks team. So here's some games I like this week. Definitely get those picks down. And there's one man who you should also listen to. We featured him on this show each and every week. Yeah. He's usually doesn't need to give analysis. He makes some great picks. And I'm really curious who he has in this Missouri-Vanderbilt game as well.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the lock of the week.
3, 2, 1. Lock of the week.
Okay.
Missouri Tigers.
Lock of the week.
Well, there you go. Missouri, I mean, what can we do to make it something bigger than Lock of the Year? like lock of the century, double, triple check,
Lock
cash,
decade.
decade lock. Just run to mybookie.ag. Don't do anything crazy, but whatever your biggest unit normally is, go ahead and put it on Missouri before the line moves up to 10, 10.5 if you can. If you can find an 8.5 out there, definitely go for it. But I love that game this week. If you want to build your bankroll at MyBookie, that's a great way to do it.
Yeah.
As we say every week, good teams win and great teams cover. Missouri's going to be a great team, winning 7 in a row, hopefully this weekend against the spread.
It's a great team.
And we also want to wish you guys good luck in your Week 12 SEC action. For the Sheriff, Steve Petrella, I'm the Wizard of Odds, Christopher Smith, and we will talk to you guys next Thursday night. Have a good one, everybody.